Good evening, my dear students. You all warmly welcome for the last revision of this course. Actually, so far we have discussed about exam-focused question on that every lessons we have covered, as well as from the previous revision sessions, I have given a summary for each topic separately. Then after I have discussed the exam-focused question. Since I have already prepared your paper, I would like to remind you about the structure of paper. Actually, your paper is comprised with 7 questions. That means 4 questions from psychology, then 2 questions from sociology, and 1 question from counseling. Actually, the number of questions I have been decided based on the proportion of each section that I have covered in this course. So therefore, like 50% I have covered psychology. Therefore, I thought to give 4 questions. And so therefore, altogether 7 questions have been decided. Like 4 questions for psychology, 2 questions for sociology, 1 question for counseling. So I have split these 7 questions into 3 parts, like part A, part B, part C. That means your examination paper is comprised with 3 parts: part A, part B, and part C. Okay, so you are required to select at least like 1 question from each part, and altogether you are required to answer 5 questions. Let's say if you have selected 3 questions from psychology, then you are required to select like 1 question from sociology, and 1 is because counseling question is compulsory. Since there is only 1 question, it's very easy. Things what we have discussed already inserted. And out of the sociology, you can select both or at least 1. So therefore, if somebody select from sociology 2 and 1 from counseling, then the particular student have to select 2 questions from psychology. Actually, questions are not difficult because these questions what I have discussed in the class have been taken for your examination paper. So therefore, I would like to remind you again, your question paper is comprised with 3 parts: part A, B, C. Part A, psychology section 4 question. Part B, sociology section 2 question. Counseling section, part C, counseling section 1 question. So all to answer, so you are required to select at least 1 question from each part, and altogether you are required to answer 5 questions. The duration is 3 hours period. And another request what I want to tell you is please be kind enough to write the readable letters. It's a must component, Puthe, because otherwise, if your letters are not readable, actually, I can't read it, okay? I can't evaluate your answers. So therefore, I strictly request from you to give readable answers, and readable as well as relevant answers, okay? So I have done revisions with you. So therefore, you know what are the 2 important considerations that you have to take into account when you're answering for a given question, especially the given marks and the action verb. It's really important and very critical. So, so don't try to write down what you know all, but please be careful about the given time as well as the action verb. So I have told this before as well, because we know like even though you have 3 hours, like altogether 180 minutes you have to answer these 5 questions. But when we divide this 180 by 5, actually you have like maximum 35 minutes for 1 question. So please keep 5 minutes for like reading the question and other things. So therefore, please do remember that you have maximum 30 minutes to answer 1 question. So if like 30 minutes are taken, then since 1 question carries 20 marks, 20 marks into 5 equal 100. So therefore, in order to earn you can spend like 30 minutes to earn 20 marks, like since 1 question for 30 marks, 30 minutes. So therefore, in order to earn 1 mark, you can spend 1.5 minutes. In order to earn 1 mark, that means how I took it, like 30 divided by 20. Okay, so in order to earn 1 mark, you can spend like 1.5 minutes. So therefore, let's say if I have given like the very first question, like 5 minutes, 5 marks have been given, like maximum time you can spend for that purpose is like 5 into 1.5, like let five, that means 7.5 minutes, like a maximum 7 minutes you can spend for that purpose. So always strict to the given time. Like basically when I was answering my question papers in the university, in bachelor's degree, master's as well, in the coursework of PhD as well, I split the time. Otherwise, what will happen when I write what I know, then eventually I won't have sufficient time to answer the last question. Sometimes I may missed it as a result of that. So therefore, time management is very critical in answering question. That actually when you manage your time, no, don't need to get unnecessary burden in time, like unnecessary burden during this process. Like some I have seen like some students are very stressful during this writing period, like because they did not think about the time at the initial stage of the process. Then later on, what will happen? They will be pressurized. So don't do it. It's not good. So therefore, try to balance your time. It's really important. So briefly explain your views on whether you agree or disagree with the following statements. Okay. And briefly explain your views on whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. The consciousness is information that a person can recall with an effort at a given moment. Like, let's say briefly, like, so before that, question number one, what can be fundamentally understood in the study of psychology? 5 marks have been provided. What can be fundamentally understood in the study of psychology? That means basically that type of questions is asking what is mean by psychology. So basically what you can understand, what is the ingredient of it. Okay. So therefore basically like psychology is a science of it's a science of mental life. Like it's a science of cognitive processes such as reasoning and decision making. That is one point that you can take into account. So then some scholars saying that psychology is finding and try to describe the behavior of the living organism. Okay. um, like so, then further, some say that psychology is generally considered as a science that studied human behavior. So when we take all these together, we can tell like psychology is a scientific study. It's a scientific study of cognitive processes and human behavior. Uh, Likewise, that is the thing what you can understand. So basically, when we try to focus on this aspect, like what we can fundamentally understood in the psychology, like basically we can it's a scientific study. It investigate about the cognitive processes. Since 5 marks have been given, try to write down some cognitive processes. It is a scientific study. Uh, it's a scientific study of cognitive processes such as reasoning, decision making, memory, intelligence, motivation, and the human behavior. Um, like simply behavior mean observable physiological changes. Like when we talk about like behavior in within bracket, you can write down like observable physiological changes and behavior is the thing what we can focus on. Okay, so in order to earn 5 marks, you have to incorporate very important aspects. So in addition to that, you can understand like um, just telling what is psychology is not sufficient since 5 marks have been given. For that type of question, my dear student, it's better to mention like two or three advantages, like why we should study psychology as a subject as a student. So in your handout, in your first handout, like in slide number 10 and 11, it has been provided. Like several definitions have been provided. Like you can write down the definition: psychology, scientific study of cognitive processes such as reasoning, creativity, emotions, then after memory, motivation, as well as the observable changes in the human behavior. So don't stop that point and tell why you study psychology, because psychology is simply when we learn psychology, and we can like basically we can understand where are we right now. Okay, so what is the nature of our cognitive process and the human behavior, as well as we can understand the complex factors that influence person behavior. Complex factors like such as cognitive factors we can identify, and we can understand the diversity among people across different cultures, because different people are behaving in different manner according to their cognitive processes. We can understand, as well as gaining an understanding of who they are and how they will behave in the future through understanding the environment in which individuals are embedded in individual experience. Simply, we can understand where are we right now and where others are right now. Like simply, when you learn about emotions, intelligence, memory, yeah, like then you can understand how other people are right now. Where are they right now? Whether I am up to them or whether I am down to them. So it's really important. So likewise, basically, you can write down few advantages, like 2 or 3 advantages with the definition is the answer for the question number 1. Then, second part, briefly explain your view on, your idea on whether you agree or disagree with the following statement. So like basically like initially you have to tell whether you agree or disagree with this statement. It's a must requirement, Pute. It's a must requirement. So don't forget to tell it. Like consciousness is information that a person can recall within an effort at a given moment. Because we know, so therefore the given statement is consciousness is information that a person can recall with an effort at a given moment. Okay, so you know when this kind of statement has been received, what you have to do it, we have to focus on Sigmund Freud's 3 part of human mind. So don't straight away go to this consciousness, since how many marks have been provided for one part? 3 marks. So therefore 3 marks mean like one mark for the um, agree or disagree, then after 2 marks for your justification. So in that scenario, you can tell, according to Sigmund Freud, there are 3 levels of mind, like conscious, unconscious, and pre-conscious. Simply consciousness is consciousness mean like contain all the thoughts, memories, feeling, and wishes we are aware at a given time. But information that a person can recall with an effort at a given time known as pre-conscious. Okay, so like simply you can write down in 2 way, like consciousness is it contain all the thoughts, memories, feeling, and wishes we are aware of at any given time. But information that a person can recall with an effort at a given moment is known as pre-conscious. So likewise දෙපැත්තටම ලියන්න. මේකේ ඇයි මේක disagree වෙන්නේ? Consciousness කියන්නේ මොකක්ද? Pre-conscious කියන්නේ මොකක්ද කියන එක, then you can finally you can tell therefore we cannot agree with this statement. Okay, so that part will be missed by the most of the student. අර ඒගොල්ලෝ disagree කිව්වට අන්තිමට ලස්සනට ප්‍රශ්න end කරන්නේ. Therefore we cannot agree with this statement. If you can agree, therefore we can agree with this statement. So likewise you have to end the question, end the answer in a very nice manner. Ending also really critical. There is no difference between pre-conscious and unconscious. Actually, it's like very similar for the previous question. This answer is disagree. Why? Because again, you can tell like human mind, according to Sigmund Freud, human mind into 3 parts, like unconscious, pre-conscious, and consciousness. But when we talk about pre-consciousness, pre-consciousness consists of anything that could be brought into conscious mind, like with an effort. Like it pre-conscious mean consists of anything that could be brought into conscious mind with an effort. But unconscious mean like it's a container of feeling, thoughts, urge, and memories outside our conscious awareness. It's a container of like painful incident, feeling, thoughts, memories outside our conscious awareness that contains unacceptable or unpleasant content. අපි අකමැති අප්‍රසන්න හැඟීම් තමයි ඒ මනසේ කොටස ගැබ් වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අපි ඒ පිළිබඳ දැනුවත් භාවයක් නැහැ. Such as feeling of pain, anxiety, and conflict. But they are really matter for our behavior. අපි ඒක නොදැන හිටියත් ඒවා අපේ යටි මනසේ තියෙන දේවල් අපේ හැසිරීමට බලපාන. So, but pre-conscious, anytime you can recall with an effort, but unconscious mean it's like a container. It's a full of feeling, thoughts, memories outside our human awareness. But it contains unacceptable and unpleasant content such as feeling of pain, anxiety, and conflict. But it is also directly affect it's an effect on a human behavior. So there is no difference between yeah, a baby called an id alarm ගුලියක් කියලා අපි කියනවා. Yes, we can agree because uh, just for focus on about baby. Before that, it's better to write down what is id. Okay, it's really important. Okay, when we talk about it, like according to Sigmund Freud, it is the source of all. It's making the in the primary component of personality. So it making the primary component of personality. Like it is the only component of personality that is a present from birth. උපතේ සිටම තියෙන කොටස තමයි පුතේ id කියන්නේ. So this aspect of personality is entirely unconscious and include very primitive behavior. මේ id කියන කොටසේ තියෙන ඒවා ගොඩක් වෙලාවට හරිම unconscious දැනුමක් නැහැ කිසිම හරිම ප්‍රාථමික අධීරයේ තියෙන it like we can say like that it includes like it's entirely unconscious and very primitive behavior and really based on the pleasure principle. තමන්ගේ ආත්මාර්ථකාමී අවශ්‍යතාවක් තමයි මූලික ලෙස රැඳෙන්නේ. The id is driven by the pleasure principle, like simply it try to satisfy the immediate gratification of all desires, wants, and needs without thinking about the other. If these needs are not satisfied immediately, the result is a state of anxiety, of tension. Like simply, since it's based on pleasure principle, always when it is prominent in a certain personality, like in a child, if the needs and wants are not satisfied, the result of state is anxiety and the tension. So therefore, all these characteristics, like if the pleasure, based on pleasure principle, and it's in the entirely unconscious and demonstrate primitive behavior and immediate gratification of that mean eagerly waiting to satisfy the immediate needs and wants. So all these characteristics are demonstrated by a baby. බබෙක් කියලා කියන්නේ ලදරුවෙක් කියලා කියන්නේ simply that person is really very selfish and not think about the other because simply the mind is fully of entirely unconscious. So therefore, since all these characteristic is demonstrated by baby, since all the characteristic of it demonstrated by baby, we can finally tell that baby is an it's a baby calls the id alarm. The superego operates according to the principles of Sukadeva. Like superego, simply tell what is meant by Sukadeva. Actually, you cannot agree with this statement. Why? Because when we talk about superego, like superego, simply superego, like always, it try to, according to Sigmund Freud, superego begins to emerge at around age 5. Like simply the superego holds the internalized moral standard and ideals we acquire from our parents and the society. That means the sense of right and wrong. The superego provides guideline for making judgments. Okay. So, but when we talk about basically superego is based on the moral principle. So always superego try to be perfect and civilize our behavior. It suppress all its unacceptable needs and wants to make and always try to present in conscious, present in the conscious, pre-conscious, and unconscious. But when we talk about it operates under Sukadeva or a pleasure principle, always try to satisfy the selfish needs and wants, and always try to satisfy the immediate satisfaction is highly expected. So therefore, the superego operates not according to Sukadeva, it operates according to the moral principle, but ego operates according to the principles of Sukadeva. Within bracket, you can write down pleasure principle. When the ego is strong, it strives to be perfect rather than dealing with the reality. Okay. It's disagree. Why? Because when ego is prominent, like basically when ego is prominent, basically tell what is ego. When we talk about ego, ego develop from the id, and it ensure that like ego is a function of conscious, pre-conscious, and unconscious. So basically, ego is a personality component which responsible for dealing with reality. It because it based on reality principle. So basically, ego operates based on the reality principle, and uh, like basically it try to satisfy its selfish needs in a realistic and socially appropriate way. Okay. But then you can tell, like, to become perfect, a person is, if when the person's superego is prominent, the particular person try to become perfect, rather than dealing with the reality. So therefore, like, since superego try to perfect and civilize our behavior, superego try to be perfect rather than dealing with reality. So therefore, when ego is strong, it try to satisfy it try to balance the different demands come from superego and it. But superego is the component, personality part which try to be perfect rather than dealing with the reality. Therefore, ego is not try to be perfect rather than dealing with reality. Therefore, we cannot agree with this statement. So likewise, since in this question, my dear student, this part is like it strive to be perfect rather than dealing with reality mean, like basically that part is coming for superego. But when ego is strong, it try to balance the different demands come from id and superego. So therefore, you can tell what is ego, and this is superego. So therefore, you can tell that you cannot agree with this statement. Question number 2. Okay. But in this paper, Pute, there are like, yes, 7 questions have been given. Like second question, state the 2 essential part of human life directly affected by the environment. So when we talk about environmental psychology, we have learned about environmental psychology. So in, I think, lesson number 3. Lesson number 3, we have learned about environmental psychology, like how environment matter for persons, cognitive processes, as well as behavior has been taken into account. Like in the given question, what it asks, like state 2 essential parts of human life which affect on affected by the environment. Can you think and tell what kind of parts which directly affect, like, human mind? Simply, when we talk about environmental psychology, initially what is mean by environment, since 2 marks have been given, like state කියලා තියෙන නිසා 1 2 කියලා දැමම ඇති. ඒ කියන්නේ ඒක පැහැදිලි කරන්න යන්න එහෙම අවශ්‍යතාවයක් නැහැ. හරිද? So basically, we know, like මේ මනුස්සයාගේ ජීවිතේ පරිසරය බලපාන ප්‍රධාන කොටස් දෙකක් විදිහට අපි ගන්න පුළුවන්, like the behavior. So what is the essential part of human life directly affected by the environment? One part you can take into account, like behavior. Second part you can take such as like mentality of the person. Behavior one part, then mentality of the person, as well as the healthiness. සෞඛ්‍ය කියන එකත් පරිසරයෙන් බලපානවානේ. පිරිසිදු පරිසරයක් ඉන්නේ නැත්නම් අපේ සෞඛ්‍ය ලෙඩ වෙනවා. මානසිකත්වය, if the environment is not supportive, conducive, then our mentality will be diluted. අපේ චර්යාව හොඳ වෙන්නේ තර ගිරව් දෙන්නයි කතන්දරය වගේ පරිසරය අනුව. As well as our education also really matter. Our education also affected by the environment where we live. So therefore, behavior, mentality, education, as well as healthiness. Since all 4 parts are there, you can select only 2. Like Okay, so explain the role of industrial psychology in attracting and selecting employee for an organization. So basically, we know like industrial psychology, how the industrial psychology matter for attracting and selecting employee for an organization. So initially, tell what is environmental psychology. Like environmental psychology is also a science which investigate about the mutual relationship between peer persons behavior and the environment. කියන්නේ මේ පරිසර මනෝවිද්‍යාවෙන් කියන්නේ පුද්ගලයාගේ චර්යාව හා පරිසරය අතර පවතින අන්‍යෝන්‍ය සම්බන්ධතාවයෙහි බලපෑම. So therefore when we talk about like industrial in attracting and selecting employee for an organization, we know basically I have explained it in the given handout nicely, like how this environment matter in selecting people. Actually, it's come under industrial psychology. So basically, when we talk about industrial like basically, industrial psychology is not only the like interrelationship between environment and human behavior, but industrial psychology basically it is a scientific study of like it basically focused on like basically it's a scientific study of employees, workplaces, uh, workplaces in a particular territory. Like basically from industrial psychology we can investigate about employee satisfaction, their security, their healthiness, and their well-being, etc. So basically how this since it focus on like employees and the workplaces in a scientific manner. So when we are try to attract people, attracting and like recruiting and selecting people, like basically we have to focus on basically we can in terms of like when we are designing job advertisement, when we are deciding the like basic qualification required for a job position, as well as employee selection procedure. So all these things we have to focus on the nature of the people we are required and the nature of the workplace where we are in right now. අපි වැඩ කරන ස්ථානයේ ස්වරූපය සහ අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන සේවකයන් අනුව තමයි අපි රැකියා නිවේදන හදන්නේ. අපිට එතකොට ඒ රැකියා නිවේදන වලට ගැලපෙන මිනිස්සු බඳව ගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ අපේ වැඩ. අපි මොන වගේ ඔෆිස් එකක්ද අපිට තියෙන්නේ, මොන වගේ ඕගනයිසේෂන් එකක්ද තියෙන්නේ, මොන වගේ මිනිස්සු අපිට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවද, මොන වගේ මූලික සුදුසුකම් වුන්ට අවශ්‍ය වෙනවද, සහ බඳවා ගැනීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය මොන වගේ. So all these things can be decided when we have very proper understanding about the nature of the employees and the workplace. So likewise you can explain this recruitment and selection. Like recruitment attracting can be focused on like preparing job advertisement. Like selecting you can write down like at the same time deciding the basic qualification also can coming under attracting. So in selecting also we can focus on like basically the employee selection process. ඉතින් දැන් අපි දැන් රැකියා තනතුරක් තියෙනවා නම් ඒ රැකියා තනතුරේට අපි අදාළ පුරප්පාඩුවට අදාළ රැකියා නිවේදනය හදනවනේ. ඒ රැකියා නිවේදනය හදනවා අපි බලනවා මොන වගේ මිනිස්සුද අපිට ඕනේ. මොන වගේ රැකියාවක්ද ඒ රැකියාවට මොන වගේ මිනිස්සුද ඕනේ. අපේ කල්චර් එකට ගැලපෙන විදිහට තමයි අපි මේ ජොබ් ඇඩ්වර්ටයිස්මන්ට් එක හදන්නේ. මේ වගේ එකමුතු වෙලා වැඩ කරන්න පුළුවන් දක්ෂ උපාධියක් තියෙන ආදී වශයෙන්. ඊට පස්සේ ඒකට මූලික සුදුසුකමුත් අපිව තීරණය කරලා තමයි නිවේදනය හදන්නේ. ඒතර බඳවා ගැනීමේ ක්‍රියාවලිය තීරණය කරන්නේ according to the job position, whether we are normally calling for application is a must requirement, whether we are inviting for them for a test or an interview or assessment center, etc. So you can write down like since 9 marks have been provided, you are required to give answer in terms of preparing this job advertisement, deciding the basic qualification as well as recruiting these people. Like persons at least spending 8 hours per day in the workplace. So therefore, industrial psychologists should pay great attention to occupational stress and their employee. And occupational, physical, and mental health. Do you agree with this statement? Yes, we can agree with this because because we know like normal the maximum hours per day is 24 hours. So out of 24 hours, at least 8 hours people are spending in an organization, mean one third of the day will spend at the workplace. So therefore, uh, industrial psychologists are responsible to create a very conducive or a supportive work environment for them to work happily. So therefore, like industrial psychologists are responsible to identify different kind of factors which create occupational stresses, because these stresses can be like these stresses can be happen in three ways, like behavioral stresses, physical stresses, and cognitive stresses. Like when we talk about behavioral stresses, අපිට ඒකට කියන්න පුළුවන් not coming for the work on time, and not performing well, even though come for the work, not performing well. චර්යාමය පීඩා. කායික පීඩා කියන්නේ headache, heart attack, leg paining, etc. Then cognitive strains mean like stress, depression, etc. So therefore, always industrial psychology should ensure particular employees free from these strains, like physical, mental, as well as behavioral. So therefore, creating a very conducive environment is really important. You can write down the answer for third part using these three type of strains, like behavioral, uh, physical, and mental. So tell give some example for what is behavioral, physical, as well as cognitive strain, and explain how you can create environment which is free for them. Like free in order to make a workplace free from behavioral strains, like you can introduce flexible work time. Otherwise, you can give appropriate training to increase their performance level as much as they can. Like in order to reduce the physical strains, can give a work break for them. Like can introduce music therapies for them. හිසරදය තියෙනවා නම්. Then after හෘද රෝග, then you can introduce like doctor to the organization. Like you can invite doctor to visit the workplace like 2 days per week or 3 days per week. If people are suffering from like physical illnesses, they can get the consultation from the doctor. Just tell how you can create a place free from this behavioral, physical, and cognitive. Then after psychological, you can focus on like you can introduce like music station for the workplace. It's like අපි ගොඩක් අර දැකලා තියෙන සමහර ආයතනවල music play කරනවා. ඒ වගේ කරන්නත් පුළුවන්. Question number 3. State 3 fundamental characteristic of personality. So basically, what are the 3 characteristic of personality? 3 characteristic of personality. පෞරුෂය ලක්ෂණ 3. So when we talk about characteristic of personality, like basically personality is like it's a combination of traits, pattern of thoughts, emotion, etc. So basically we can tell personality is a collection of traits, behavior, thoughts, emotion, perception, physical appearance, etc. Then fundamental characteristic mean not the component of personality. Please to remember, ලක්ෂණ කියන්නේ තුල තියෙන සංරචක නෙමෙයි. Like basically we can tell in the given handout පුතේ it is mentioned in personality part 1 not like it says like personality is consistency. Like it consists for a certain period. කෙනෙක්ගේ පෞරුෂය කෙනෙක් එක දවසින් වෙනස් වෙන්නේ නැහැ. What is one characteristic? Consistency. Then second one is psychological and physiological. So basically, personality can be psychological and physiological mean, because as I told you, like since it is feeling, emotions, perception, it's a psychological aspect. Physiological means simply the behavior as well as a physical appearance. If I want to visible, because basically we can tell personality has 2 parts, like visible and invisible. Invisible means psychological aspects such as emotion, belief, then perception, etc. Physiological means visible part like behavior, then physical appearance, etc. First characteristic consistency, second one is physiological and psychological. Third one is it affect behavior and action, and multi-expression. Multi-expression mean like basically when we talk about personality, it's multidimensional. So that's why I told you personality is a collection of traits, emotion, feeling, behavior, perception, physical appearance, every aspect are included. So you can write down the characteristic in terms of its component as well. So likewise, since state කරන්නකො මේක දෙක තුන දාලා ලියන්න ඇති. Discuss 5 factors that affect the personality development of a person. Discuss 5 factors that affect the personality development of a person. Discuss 5 factors that affect the personality develop. Like basically, in order to develop a personality, there are factors. Like I have told you, education, family environment. Then after, so many example I have given, like education, family environment. Then after, culture, religious thoughts, workplace environment, social status, characteristic of peer group, childhood memories, then sex differences, intelligence and nervous system, cultural environment, school environment, language, social role, interpersonal relations, psychological factors, all are really matter. All are really matter. So state whether you are like, since 11 marks have been provided, you are required to explain 5 factors. Initial tell what is meant by personality, 1 mark will be granted. Remaining 10 marks can be earned by the explanation, like 2 marks for 1 factor. Like therefore 2 points you have to write down under each factor. I have given you like 16. 16 factors I have given. Out of 16, try to write down 5. State whether you agree with the below statement and justify your answer. Emotions can help to understand you better only. So actually, as I told you earlier, when give this kind of statement, initial tell whether you agree or disagree. No, you have to disagree with this statement because emotions can help you to not only understand you better, but it help to understand others as well. So basically, if you know how people feel in a different situation, so basically, if you can understand your emotions at a given time, then you can understand you better. You can control them better. But not only that, if you can understand these emotions, if you can understand other person's emotion, then easily you can understand their places where they are standing and you can help them to control their emotion. So therefore, understanding emotion is not helping you to understand you better. Understanding emotion help you to understand other people and their situation, and then because of that reason it help you to, then as a result of that you can help other people to control their emotion. ඒ චිත්ත වේග පිළිබඳ අවබෝධය තියෙන වාසිය වෙන්නේ ඔබට ඔබ ගැන තේරුම් ගැනීම විතරක් නෙමෙයි, ඔබට ඔබගේ චිත්ත වේග පාලනය කර ගැනීමට හැකියාව ලැබීම විතරක් නෙමෙයි, ඔබට චිත්ත වේග පිළිබඳ මන අවබෝධයක් තියෙනවා නම් අනිත් අයගේ ඒ හරහා ඒ අයගේ චිත්ත වේග කන්ට්‍රෝල් කරගන්න ඔබට උදව් කරන්න පුළුවන්. So therefore understanding emotion is twofold. Like you can understand your emotion and you can control them. On the other hand, you can understand others' emotion and you can help them to control their emotion. Understanding emotions can help to make quick decision. Disagree, because understanding emotion can help to make not quick decision, wise decision. ෂණික තීරණ ගන්න බෑ පුතේ. චිත්ත වේග තේරුම් ගත්තම අපිට පුළුවන් ඉන්නේ නිවැරදි තීරණ, බුද්ධිමත් තීරණ ගන්න. We can make wise decision. Okay, so when we try to understand our emotion, we can control our behavior. So when we try to understand others' emotion, we can help them to control their emotion. තරහ ගිය අපිට තේරෙනවා එයා තරහ ගිහිල්ලා කියලා අපි එතනට ගිහිල්ලා පොහොර දාන්න නැතුව ගිහිල්ලා පස්සේ ආයෙ කතා කරනවා කියලා කියන්නේ එයාට එයාගේ එක්ක එයාට ඒ වෙලාවේදී කියනවා ඔයා දැන් කලබල වෙන්න එපා පස්සේ කතා කරමු. ඉතින් ඒ වෙලාවේදී අපි යාට උදව් කරනවා එයාගේ emotions control කරගන්න. සමහරට අපි නිසා නම් එයාට තරහ ගිහිල්ලා තියෙන්නේ අපි එතනින් ඉවත් වීම තුල අපි එතනින් withdraw වීම තුළ එයාට යාගේ emotions control කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙනවා. ඉතින් මම තේරුම් ගන්න එයාට තරහ ගිහිල්ලා කියලා මම එතනින් ඉවත් වීම තුළ I help that person to control their emotions. So therefore, understanding emotion can help to make not quick decision. ඉක්මන් තීරණ ගන්න බෑ කොයි දෙයකවත්, නිවැරදි තීරණ ගන්න අපිට පුළුවන්. So therefore, you have to disagree with this statement. 6 marks have been given. 3 marks for this, 3 marks for part 1, 3 marks for part 2. Next question, part B. What are the advantages of learning sociology? So when we talk about what are the advantages of learning sociology, ඇයි අපි සමාජ විද්‍යාව ඉගෙන ගන්නේ? as a subject, why we should learn about sociology, why it is really matter. So make a have since 3 marks given to the එක දෙක තුන දාලා ලියන්න. හරිද? ඒක that is much more sufficient. No need to explain as a paragraph. Since what කුමක්ද state list ලයිස්තු list කියන්නේ ලයිස්තු ගත කරන්න what කියන්නේ කුමක්ද what is your name කිව්වම ඔබ කියන්නේ ඔබගේ නම විතරයිනේ. So therefore please do remember for the action verb like what list state you are required to write down 1 to 3. What are the advantages of learning sociology? So simply, sociology is systematically study the group and societies in which people live and how social structure and the cultures are created and maintained or changed and how they affect our behavior. Simply tell what is meant by sociology. Initially, sociology is a systematic study the group and societies in which people live, how social structures and cultures created and maintained or changed, and how these social structures, cultures, and affect human behavior. So when we talk about the advantage of sociology, basically from sociology, from the definition itself, you can get the advantages. Write down few advantages like it helps to systematically study the groups and the societies in which people live. එහෙනම් අපිට වෙනම දීලා නෑ පුතේ සමාජ විද්‍යාවේ වැදගත්කම වාසි definition එකෙම ලියන්න පුළුවන්. It systematically help to study the groups and societies in which people live. කියන්නේ මිනිස්සු ජීවත් වෙන සමාජය සහ කණ්ඩායම් විදිහට ජීවත් වීම කියන එක අපිට ක්‍රමානුකූලව අධ්‍යයනය කරන්න උදව් කරනවා. It's the first advantage. It help to systematically study the groups and societies in which people live. Then second advantage, sociology focus on how social structure matter human behavior. Second advantage, how culture matter human behavior, and then how culture created and maintained or change, and how it affect on human behavior. So likewise, you can write down 3 advantages. It first advantage, sociology help us to systematically study the group and societies in which people live. And it explain how social structure matter for human behavior, how culture matter for human behavior. The social structure කියන්නේ අපි දන්න සමහර සමාජ ගත්තම වැඩිපුර ඉන්නේ කතෝලිකයි, බෞද්ධ අය, හින්දු අය, මුස්ලිම් අය, බර්ග, මැලි. ඒතකොට ඒක social structure එක කොහොමද මිනිස්සුන්ගේ හැසිරීමට බලපාන්නේ? අපි දන්න සමහර පැති අපි අපි නම් කරලා තියෙන those area for Muslims. Some areas especially devoted for like Catholic, like up there Ragam කියලා ගත්තම ගොඩක් many more Catholics are living. But there are some areas where most of the Buddhist people are living. So therefore, it's their social structure. So the social structure creates culture. So therefore, social structure and culture is two different concepts. So therefore, basically, sociology help how systematically study the group and societies in which people live and how social structure matter for human behavior, how culture matter for human behavior. That is the thing what you have write down. List 3 social issues and briefly explain how they negatively affect social institutions. So when giving this type of question to it, please do remember, like list 3 social issues and explaining them is not the expected answer. දැන් මෙතන කියලා තියෙන්නේ පුතේ සමාජ ගැටලු තුනක් ලියලා ඒ තුන සමාජයට අහිතකර ලෙස බලපාන්නේ කොහොමද කියලා ලියන්නනේ. ඒත් සමහර දරුවෝ හරිය බ්ලයින්ඩ්ලි උත්තර ලියනවා සමාජ ගැටලු තුනක් ලියලා ඒ සමාජ ගැටලු තුන පැහැදිලි කරනවා. මම ඒක නෙමෙයි අහලා තියෙන්නේ. අහලා තියෙන්නේ සමාජ ගැටලු කියන්නේ මොනවද? ඒව සමාජයට අහිතකර ලෙස බලපාන්නේ කොහොමද කියන කාරණා. So when we talk about like issues in sociology, like rape cases, robbery, murder cases, AIDS, terrorism, prostitution, like then after malnutrition, manda poshane, poverty, bribes, unavailability of the infrastructure, likewise, then defamation, apahasaya, discrimination. So all these issues you can like, since only 3 issues select, like divorce rate. So may social issues කියන එක, like then after deviation. අපගමනය දැන් ගොඩක් වෙලාවට like tomboys you may have heard about, gay, lesbian. Those are so like we call them as deviations. So those are social issues, like let's say drugs addicted people, chain smokers, social issues. එතකොට මේ වගේ දේවල් කොහොමද negatively affect වෙන්නේ? හිතන්න drug addicted person කෙනෙක් ගෙදර ඉන්නවා කියලා කියන්නේ ඒ දරුවන්ගේ අඩුම ගානේ ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ප්‍රාථමික අවශ්‍යතාවත් ඉෂ්ට වෙන්නේ නැහැ. ඒගොල්ලන්ට කන වෙලාවකට some people are really accusing them. සමහර අය මිනිස්සු බනිනවා. පවුලේ සාමයක් නැහැ. So they are මන්ද පෝෂණය කියන තත්ත්වය. There is no required nutritious for the family members. Therefore they cannot work well, they cannot study well. එතකොට ඒ වගේ දේවල් දැන් divorce එක වැඩි වුණාම what will happen? Children lose their parents. There is no look after, there is no take care at home. When sometimes father is not with them, mother is not with them, so therefore they have to face different challenges which come from their stepmothers, stepfathers. So likewise, you list through three social issues: rape cases, terrorism, prostitution, and write down how it is badly affected. මිනිසුන්ගේ මානසිකත්වයට, සෞඛ්‍යයට, අධ්‍යාපනයට, හැසිරීමට කොහොමද මේ දේවල් බලපාන්නේ කියලා ලියන්න. So that is a very important part of this question is how they are negatively affected the social institutions in the society. Just listing three issues, you can gain only 3 marks, but how they are negatively affected will give the remaining 6 marks. So therefore, I am issue එකකදී අඩුම ගානේ කරුණු දෙකක්වත් ලියන්න. What is the difference between agents and agencies of socialization? So before explain what is agent and agencies, my dear student, initial tell what is mean by socialization. So basically socialization is, you can define like socialization is a learning process of development of habits, attitudes, and traits that differentiate individual from another one. Like further, you can tell like socialization is a process of interaction where the individual learn about habit, skills, and belief and stand of judgments which are necessary for effective participation at the social group and community. And we සමාජයක ඵලදායී සමාජිකයෙක් වීමට අවශ්‍ය දැනුම, කුසලතා, ආකල්ප කියන දේවල් අත්පත් කර ගැනීම තමයි සමාජානුයෝජන ක්‍රියාවලියක වෙන්නේ. So in the given handout පුතේ page number 7, it is nicely mentioned. Okay, tell what is socialization. Then agents and agencies. When we talk about agents, the answer for that part also in page number 9 of the given handout. Agents are the people who involved in our socialization process. But agencies are the institutions which represent the organization involved in our socialization. Like let's say, when we talk about family, family is the agency. But mother, father, grandparents are the agents who help for socialization. When we talk about school, school is the agency. But the teachers, principals, and the like clerical staff are the people who support for are agents who support for the socialization at school. So give example for both agents and agencies. Then after, like when you give an example, Pute, since 8 marks have been provided, like give at least 3 examples for agencies and agents. Like you can give family, from peer groups, from media also. So let's say media, like let's say newspaper or TV is the like TV, like let's say Sirius TV is the agency, but the news speakers, like drama producers, directors are the agents who can help us for socialization. So people, මිනිස්සු තමයි agents ලා වෙන්නේ, නියෝජිතයෝ වෙන්නේ. අදාළ ආයතනය තමයි agency එක වෙන්නේ. Okay, so therefore, since 8 marks have been given, try to, otherwise you can draw a table and write down the difference between agent and agencies. I think that is better. That is very better. That is very easy for you. Draw a table and tell who is agent and who is agency. So likewise, this is like when I ask you to write down the differences, it's better to draw like this, Puti. I think say draw a table. Since 8 marks have been given, like agents of socialization. Agencies of socialization. Then you can tell. Initial tell what is mean by socialization. Okay. Then initial tell socialization is blah blah what likewise. Then after tell who, like simply people who involved with the socialization process are agents. Then after you can write down institutions which involved with the socialization process are agencies. Agencies. Then after you can tell like simply you can tell when take the family, mother, father, and the grandparents, sisters are the agents. Then family is the agency. Then you can write down when take the school, peers, teachers, principals, and the clerical staff are the agents. But school is the agency. Like let's say the media, like let's say TV channel such as Derana is the agency. Then drama producers drama වලට ඉන්න අපේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට ජීවිතේ ජීවත් වෙන්න ඕන විදිහට චරිත ගැන කියලා දෙන drama producers, then singing um, directors, music composers are the agents in the selected TV channels are agents. So simply they help us to be socialized but when we talk about this, like these channels act as a platform to support for socialization process. So that is the way you can take it. Like when try to differentiate, better to draw. It's easy for you. You can save the time as well, and as well as I can give you marks in a very simple manner since already given. Because in the when you try to differentiate already the given the examples also provided, then it's easy for you. Like I want to show the differentiate. That's why I took like this. Like in order to, likewise, then here, uh, so no need to put, let's say, in a bullet manner also you can write down bullet form since already, yeah, this is the way you can write it. Then easily I can see what you have understood rather than giving a very long description. So easily you can score marks, your time also saving. But initially tell what is meant by socialization, it's a must require. Okay. Mm, let's move. Then question number 5. Um, okay, let's focus on question number 5. In maintaining equality, if possible, in a pluralistic society, explain your answer with example. Actually, maintaining inequality is coming under social integration. So basically, when we talk about equality, it's normally in a pluralistic. Tell what is mean by pluralistic society initially, because we know when people are inviting, that mean basically when a country is letting other people to come into their territory, like a very good example, USA, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, now Denmark, then after Finland, for that type of countries, when they are inviting, when they are letting other people to come and be a part of their country, then automatically the pluralistic society is promoting. But basically, even though the pluralistic society is there, but uh, in a like at a glance, maintaining equality is really hard, even though they are telling that they are encouraging pluralistic කෙනෙක් එක බහුආර්ථික මිනිස්සු එනවා කියන එක මේ ඒගොල්ලෝ ඉඩ දුන්නට, but in reality it's really hard to maintain the equality. So you have to, even though it's nominally it was there, like they are encouraging equality, but practically it is not possible. That is the thing you have to highlight. Then after, second point, social integration does not always lead to advantages for the society. Actually, in page number 8, it nicely explained, like, on the importance of social integration. It says that social integration did not always lead to positive outcomes. Okay, because because the negative effect mean so you can write down some negative aspects of negative outcomes of social integration, because discrimination can be happen, inequality can be happen, inequality can be happen, at the same time, uh, like as I told you, in inequality, that means justice cannot be ensured. Let's say now when we go for Australia, sometime we believe that even though they are inviting, they are letting us to come to that their country, but maintaining equality, because we know like they give high priority for uh, their nation. So therefore, sometime uh, they will not expect, let's say now when we have applied for a job position, let's say now Australian as well as we have applied, so they give the first priority for their people. It happens also, it's not only Australia, for the other country also it happens. Like therefore inequality, discrimination can be happen, justice situations are not created because some problems can be encountered as a result of this social integration. So therefore, social integration does not always lead to advantage for the community. Yes, agree, because you can tell us some example, some advantages such as cultural diversity is introducing cultural diversity, host country by fostering greater creativity and economic growth. That kind of advantages can be enjoyed. Like we can live in a country who has very high economic growth. Good example, USA, Australia, and they there is a high platform for we can learn about cultural diversity, creativity, because we are meeting different nations, different people. But on the other hand, it's really hard to ensure equality, justice, discrimination can be happen. Then discuss the interconnection between mutual awareness, interaction, and cooperation, because there is a positive relationship when mutual awareness. Tell what is mutual awareness, what is interaction, what is cooperation. Mutual awareness means like when we go from one country to another, they know about ourselves well. When there are two people, they know each other very well. When mutual awareness is high, interaction is high. අන්‍යෝන්‍ය අවබෝධය වැඩි වෙනකොට පුතේ දෙන්න interact වෙනවා, හොඳට කතා බහ කරනවා. As a result of interaction, cooperation will be created. Like let's say a very good example, marriage. When because when we know each other very well, that's why parents are giving sufficient time for them to have a discussion. First mutual, in order to increase the mutual awareness. When they feel that we are really matched with each other, then interaction will be increased. Interaction can another on the සම්බන්ධතාවයක් ඇති වෙනවා. So as a result of that, they will be very cooperative when they are doing work before marriage and after marriage. So therefore, before cooperation, interaction required. Before interaction, mutual awareness is created. You can give an example. Try to justify your answer with the support of Putte, with the support of with the support of example. As I told you, because in the lesson I have given bakery, but in here I have given example from a family. So try to safeguard in that way. Like list 3 characteristics of the counseling process. So when we talk about counseling process, basically um, there are so many characteristics are in the counseling process. When we talk about counseling, actually counseling is a process and it's a lengthy, we can focus on it's like a lengthy process. It's not a one-time effort. Basically, counseling can be take different form, like individual, family, group, couple. So that is also one characteristic. List characteristic mean ekta deka tuna hatara dala hatak liwama ඇති. Like you can tell counseling is like it's simply it help to build relationship with the individual and between two or more people. So simply counseling build relationship between two or more people. It empower people who come to get the support, like to accomplish mental health and health, wellness and education and career goal. It's a very collaborative relationship between counselor and the client. So basically, so first characteristic, there is a collaborative relationship between counselor and the client. Second characteristic is counselor empower client to accomplish mental health, wellness and education. තමන්ගේ ප්‍රශ්න ගැන තමාම හොඳම අවබෝධයක් ඇති වෙන මට්ටමට counselor client ව ඔසවා තැබීම තමයි මේ process එකේදී වෙන්නේ. counselor දෙන්නේ උත්තර. Then like counseling can take different forms like individual counseling, family as well as group counseling, marriage counseling also there. Like simply you can tell like counseling process, it comprised with different stages such as opening, exploring client understanding, then intervention, exploring problem, empower to create on solution. Then attention is highly needed during the process. Different counseling skills are required. So likewise, you can write down 7 characteristic needed. Sorry, and explain them briefly කියලා තියෙනවානේ. ඒ හින්දා 7ක් ලියන්න ඕනේ නැහැ පුතේ. Minimum 3, maximum 4. නෑ. Write down 4. 4 characteristic and explain them using 2 sentences. That is sufficient. 4ක් ලියුවොත් 4ට වාක්‍ය දෙක ගානේ ලකුණු 7ක් හම්බ වෙනවා. So therefore, you can tell it's a collaborative relationship between a client and the counselor. Like basically, counselor empower client to accomplish mental health, wellness, education, about the goal. And this counseling is like it can be individual, couple, family, and group. So we required different counseling skills. We required a very good attention during this process. So counselor help client to explore the problem. Then finally, the own solution will be determined by the client. So likewise, you can write down like you can write down many characteristics, but in here, please write down few. The persons in the counselor role need special training or knowledge of counseling. A person in the counselor role needs special training or knowledge of counseling. Actually, in here, counselor no need to be a professional counselor, but some people are doing this service in a voluntary manner with their experience. So therefore, we don't want special training. With the experience, people are doing this. But if you want to become a professional counselor, but you require special training and a very deep knowledge on counseling, if you want to become professional counselor, you require training and knowledge of counseling. But if you want to become a counselor, day to day, you can do it using your experience. වෘත්තිමය වශයෙන් මනෝවිද්‍යා උපදේශකවරයෙක් වෙන්න ඕන නම් පුතේ අපේ ස්පෙෂල් ට්‍රේනින් එකක් ඩිග්‍රී එක දැන් අපේ කවුන්සලර් කෙනෙක් වෙන්න බැහැ පුතේ මේ ඩිප්ලෝමා හයි ඩිප්ලෝමා වලින් ඩිග්‍රී එකක් තියෙන්න ඕනේ. එතකොට ඒ දැනුම අවශ්‍යයි. මනෝ උපදේශකවරයෙක් වෙන්නට අපිට අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම වාදියක් අවශ්‍යයි අපේ ශ්‍රී ලංකාව තුල. නිසා පිටරටත් ඒ වගේ තමයි. However, if you want to give some kind of solution for the people who are meeting day-to-day activities, you don't want to become a professional. ඒ වගේ ඕන තරම් ඉන්නවා. වෘත්තිමය වශයෙන් සුදුසුකම් නොලත් පුද්ගලයෝ තමන්ගේ අත්දැකීම් වලින් කතා කරනවා. But if you want to become a professional counselor, you require special training and knowledge of counseling. But other than, no need to, that special training and knowledge of counseling is not a must requirement for a counselor. Discuss 2 ways counseling can help people be happy and healthy with exam. Discuss 2-way counseling can help people. මිනිස්සුන්ට උදව් කරන්න පුළුවන් විදි දෙකක් කියන්නලු counseling, because you know like in counseling it helps client to explore the problem as well as happiness and healthiness එක create කරන්න පුළුවන් විදිහක් තමයි counseling වලදී අපේ ප්‍රශ්න අපි උත්තර හොයාගත්තම අපිට තෘප්තියක් ලැබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ප්‍රශ්නට උත්තර හොයනකොට උත්තර ලැබෙනකොට then we can lead a very happy life. In the counseling කියන එක අපේ ප්‍රශ්න අපි ගවේෂණය කරලා අපි උත්තර හොයන මට්ටමට මනස ඔසවා තිබීමක් තමයි කවුන්සලර් විසින් කරන්නේ. ඒ නිසා ප්‍රශ්නයකදී කවුන්සලින් වලදී ගොඩක් වෙලාවට අපිට අපේ සතුට සහ නිරෝගීභාවය හොයාගන්න පුළුවන්. So it's nicely explained in page number 8. Generally, counselors find way to help clients manage their mental health issues, which they can take an emotional toll. While counseling is a rewarding profession, looking after your overall well-being is essential to ensure that you don't experience burnout. In studying counselor කෙනෙක් විදිහට ඔයගොල්ලෝ සතුටින් සහ නිරෝගීව ඉන්න ඕනේ. Then you can take your time to make other life better. Counseling කෙනෙක් කොහොමද can help people to be happy and healthy. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ ගැටලු වලට ඒගොල්ලෝ විසින්ම උත්තර හොයන මට්ටමකට ඒගොල්ලන්ව ඔසවා තබනවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ මානසික ශක්තිවත් කරනවා. ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ නැතිවෙච්ච ආත්ම විශ්වාසය එකතු කරනවා ඒගොල්ලන්ට. සහ ඒ වගේම ඒගොල්ලෝ ප්‍රශ්නේ निराකරණය කරන තුරුම අපි ඒගොල්ලෝ එක ඉන්නවා. So therefore we can help people to be happy and healthy when they are facing the problems when we are engaging with the counseling process. Last question. Counseling is giving advices. Comment on this statement. No, counseling is not the giving advices. Counseling is empowering client to understand their question in a very proper manner and provide courage for that client to know about his problem very well and help that client to find out the solution by himself. අපි උපදේශනය තුළ කරන්නේ පුතේ අවවාද දීමක් නෙමෙයි. යම්කිසි ක්ලයන්ට් කෙනෙකුට නැති විගිය ආත්ම විශ්වාසය ඇති කරනවා ප්‍රශ්නය සම්බන්ධයෙන් ප්‍රශ්න පිළිබඳ පූර්ණ අවබෝධයක් එයාට ඇතිවන මට්ටමට එයාගේ මනස සූදානම් කරලා ඔහු විසින් ප්‍රශ්නය තේරුම්ගෙන ඔහු විසින්ම ප්‍රශ්නට උත්තරයක් හොයන මට්ටමට ඔසවා තිබීමක් තමයි counseling වල වෙන්නේ. Therefore, counseling is not giving advices. Last question. State whether you agree with this statement, justify your answer. Good counseling skills are valuable in a professional sense and helpful when applied to day-to-day relationships. හොඳ counseling කියන එක valuable in a professional sense and helpful when applied day-to-day. Actually, good counseling skills are valuable in a professional sense. Actually, that's I told you. So, in order to be a good counselor, in order to be a professional. So, you can be a counselor even though you are not professionally qualified and you can apply it to day-to-day relationships. So, therefore, you cannot agree with this statement. Good counseling skills are valuable in both professional and non-professional sense. Okay? හොඳ counseling skills අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ professional sense එකට විතරක් නෙමෙයි. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් වෘත්තිමය වශයෙන් සුදුසුකම් නැතුව ගිය කෙනෙකුට හොඳ counseling skill එකක් ඕන නිසා we cannot agree with this statement. Active listening is listening through the words that you use. What is meant by active listening? Active listening occurs when you are listening with all of your senses. Active listening involves listening with your body, hearts, ears, eyes, and mouth. Therefore, we cannot agree with this statement. ක්‍රියාශීලී සවන් දීම කියලා කියන්නේ පුතේ වචන වලට සවන් දෙනවා කියලා එකක් නෙමෙයි. වචන වලට විතරක් අපි සවන් දෙනවා නම් අපි එතනට කියන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට verbal listening. Because you can tell, I cannot agree with this statement. If you are listening through the words that you use, it's verbal listening. But active listening is like listening involves listening with the body, heart, ears, eyes, and mouth. අපේ ශරීරයෙන් හදවතින් කන් ඇස් cutting අහුම්කම් දෙනවා නම් අපි එතනදී කියන ගොඩක් වෙලාවට it's called active listening. So therefore active listening is very broader concept than verbal listening. Answer is in page number 6. It's slightly differentiate what is active listening and verbal listening in your handout. To remain genuine in all counseling techniques and verbal and unverbal signals are essential. Yes, agree. So in order to remain genuine, so you have, as a counselor, you have to be very sensitive to the verbal and nonverbal sign of the client. Nonverbal sign mean like body languages, gestures, postures, eye contacts. Verbal mean the words that the particular person is using. So therefore, in order to remain genuine in the counseling process, counselor should be very sensitive to the both verbal and nonverbal signals given by the client. Last two parts. Since 3 marks for each one, 1 mark for the agree and disagree, 2 marks for your justification. So therefore, in order, when you justify your answer, you are required to give 2 points for justification. Reflection includes confirming a client progress toward a goal or encouraging them to do what is necessary. So simply reflection includes confirming client progress toward a goal and encouraging them to do what is necessary. Yes, it's correct. Because we know that when we talk about reflection කියන්නේ කියපු දේ නැවත කියන. තේරුම් ගත්ත දේ client කියපු දේ තේරුම් ගත්ත දේ counselor විසින් නැවත client කියනවා. මම තේරුම් ගත්තේ මේ. So successfully mastering reflection, like simply you repeat and feed a short version of the client's story to the illustrate understanding that the counselor has actively listened to the information delivered throughout the session. Page number 4 එකේ තියෙනවා. So reflection mean like it's like confirming client progress, client story, and illustrate understanding that the counselor has actively listened to the information delivered throughout the session. Session එක පුරාවට කියපු තොරතුරු counselor විසින් හොඳට අවබෝධ කරගත්තා කියන දේ client ගේ story එක counselor ගේ වචන වලින් කියන එක තමයි reflection කියලා කියන්නේ. So therefore confirming the client progress, what counselor understood will be revealed through the reflection process. So therefore clients progress toward a goal and encourage them to do what is necessary. So therefore, like reflection is really you can agree with that statement. Using silence as a counseling skill also essential for the counsel. It's obvious using silence because we know using silence will let counselor to not give many more advantages. When use of silence, it might like in page number 4 answer is there. It encouraging client to control the dialogue and determine the pace, like flow of feeling and direction of thoughts, can assist in building trusting, supportive relationship. Using silence as a counseling skill also essential for counselor as well as providing validation to patient, validation to client. Silence offer an opportunity for counselors. That is the very critical part. Silence offer opportunity for counselors to thoughtfully consider what has been communicated by the client and how to respond in the most viewed and constructive way possible. අපි හොඳට අහුම්කන් දුන්නම අපිට පුළුවන් මොනවාද කවුන්සලර් කිව්වේ කියලා කතා තේරුම් ගන්නත් ඒ වගේම අපිට රෙස්පොන්ඩ් කරන්න පුළුවන්ලු හරිම කන්ස්ට්‍රක්ටිව් විදිහට. කියන්නේ ක්ලයන්ට්ව ගොඩනගෙන විදිහට අපිට හොඳට හිතාමතලා කතා කරන්න පුළුවන්. So therefore silence is very important counseling skill and it is essential for the counselor. හැබැයි මට දැන් රිෆ්ලෙක්ට් කරද්දී අර ක්ලයන්ට්ගේ වචන වලින්ම කියන්නේ කවුන්සලර්ගේ වචන වලින් ක්ලයන්ට්ගේ ප්‍රෝග්‍රස් එක කියනවා. එතකොට එයාට එන්කරේජ් කරනවා what to do. කියන්නේ ඊළඟ පාර මොනවද අපි කරන්න ඕන. It's like providing a summary for the client story, its reflection. So therefore we can agree with E part, DE, but we cannot agree with like A, B, we can agree with C, D, and E. So that's all about discussing the past paper Hute. But again, I would like to remind you, exam paper is comprised of 3 parts. Part A, Part B, Part C. The duration is 3 hours. So Part 1 comprised with 4 questions, psychology section. Part B comprised with 2 questions, sociology. Part 1 will comprise with counseling question. It's compulsory since there is only 1 question. You are required to select 3 questions from each part and altogether you are required to answer 5. Okay, so don't study only psychology part because study the entire handout is required since 1 question is compulsory for each section. So wish all the very best for your examination. Hope you understood what I have taught. Paper එක අමාරු නෑ පුතේ. උගන්නපු දේවල් පාඩම් කරගෙන යන්න අනිවාර්යයෙන් මේකක් ගන්න පුළුවන්. අසයින්මන්ට් එක හොඳට කරලා ඇති කියලා විශ්වාස කරනවා. So wish all the very best for your examination. Have a nice day and God bless you, my dear students.